Today's episode is called Still Exhausted After Rest: Why AuDHD Recovery is Not Just Lying Down. And we're getting into why rest is not always equal recovery, especially for AuDHD brains. Because maybe you slept, maybe you canceled plans, maybe you stayed home, avoided pants with buttons, and watched your favorite comfort show, and did the whole I am resting with the responsible little nervous system goblin routine. And somehow you're still exhausted. And it's not the cute tired. It's not the I need a coffee tired. I mean deep system level exhaustion. The kind where unloading the dishwasher feels like you've been asked to cross a mortar barefoot while carrying the emotional labor of your entire bloodline. So today, we're naming what's actually happening underneath that exhaustion. We are talking sensory recovery, social recovery, cognitive recovery, emotional recovery, transition recovery, demand recovery, and the very real nervous system debt. It does not disappear just because you've spent 3 hours horizontal. Because laying down is a body decision, and recovery is a biological process. And I'm going to say that again because I feel like it's really, really important. So I'm going to repeat that, everybody. Because we've been in the pond. All right. Because laying down is just a body position, and recovery is a biological process, and those are not the same thing. So if you've ever rested all weekend and still felt like a haunted iPad with 46 tabs open, this episode is for you. So let's get into it. Let's get into why rest is not always equal burnout recovery, especially for AuDHD brains. Because if you're autistic and ADHD, you might have had moments where you did everything right. You stayed home, you canceled plans, laid down, watched comfort shows, didn't answer messages, and somehow you're just still exhausted. So we are going to name the pattern. It sounds like I rested all weekend, but I still feel awful. I slept, but I woke up tired. I had a low demand day, but I still can't function. I finally got time alone, but now I feel frozen. Canceled plans to recover, but I spent the entire day feeling guilty. I lay down for 3 hours, but my brain keeps screaming. I'm not actively doing anything, so why do I still feel so overwhelmed? That's the pattern, and I want to say this very clearly. Laying down is a body position. It's not a recovery, okay? Recovery is biological processes, and these aren't the same thing. You cannot be physically still while your nervous system is still sprinting through a haunted porn maze. You can be on the couch while your brain is replaying conversations, scanning for danger, anticipating tomorrow, processing sensory overload, feeling guilty for resting, and quietly calculating how many tasks you are now, quote unquote, behind on. And that is not recovery. That is anxiety wearing pajamas. That is upcoming burnout with a throat blanket. That is nervous system debt sitting on her chest like a goblin with student loans. The research on autistic burnout describes it as chronic exhaustion, reduced tolerance to stimulus, and loss of skills that can happen when life demands that you keep exceeding available supports over time. That matters because burnout is not just I had a busy week. It's your body and your brain saying the math is no longer mapping. And for AuDHD brains, the math gets complicated and fast. Because ADHD often affects executive functions like planning, inhibition, working memory, task switching, self-regulation. Autism can involve differences in our sensory processing, social communication, predictability needs, and transitions. And when you put those together, that is both understimulated and overstimulated, craving novelty and begging for sameness, seeking dopamine, and also threatening to unionize if one more unexpected noise happens. It's a tiny circus, a tiny courtroom, a tiny electric fire. Now, let's talk about the brain and body keys. When people hear rest, they often think of sleep or laying down, But recovery requires the nervous system to shift out of survival mode. Your body has a system that has helped you to respond to stress. In the short term, that's adaptive. It's beautiful, even. Very nature knows who's doing. But when stress keeps stacking up, like sensory demands, masking, executive dysfunction, emotional labor, social expectations, sleep disruption, financial stress, parenting, teaching, working, existing new force and lighting, cumulative load can all become an holistic load. And this is the wear and tear of chronic stress on the body. And when that load is high, laying down might reduce movement, but does not automatically tell your body that we are safe now, especially if your brain is still scanning, still buzzy, if your environment is still loud, bright, cluttered, or full of tiny visual screaming, especially if your inner dialogue sounds like, you lazy goblin, you should be doing laundry. You cannot shame a nervous system into recovery. You can only cue safety. And that's why so many of us get stuck, because we think rest means stopping. But for AuDHD recovery, rest often means removing the specific load that is draining you. And sometimes that does mean stopping. And stopping can sometimes be the hardest part. But sometimes, if the exhaustion is sensory, laying down in a loud room may not help. If the exhaustion is cognitive, scrolling TikTok for 3 hours may not help, because your brain is still processing input like it's working a night court door. If the exhaustion is emotional, being alone may help, unless you spend the entire time mentally arguing with the people who are not even in the room, which is deeply rude of them, honestly. If the exhaustion is social, your body may need silence, pressure, darkness, or no perceived expectations. If the exhaustion is from transitions, you may need a decompression bridge, not just a collapse. And if the exhaustion is from masking, you may need to be completely unobserved, not alone while available, not alone but reachable, not alone but text me if you get a second, actually unavailable, full on corrected mode. Research on sensory processing in autism shows that sensory differences are not imaginary or dramatic. They are connected to differences in how the brain processes auditory, tactile, visual, and all other sensory input. So when you say this noise is exhausting me, that's not you being difficult. That is your brain doing extra labor. When you say these lights are making me tired, that's not you being precious or being a baby. It's your nervous system paying attacks. And when you say, I need to be alone after being around people, it's not rude. It's a recovery need. You are not a phone that just needs to be plugged in. You are more like a very brilliant, very sensitive operating system that has 47 tabs open. 2 of them are playing music. One is frozen. One is a trauma memory and trigger. And somewhere in the background, an invisible printer keeps failing. And everyone just keeps saying, have you tried yoga? Have you tried taking a nap? Ma'am, I have tried becoming a completely different person. It is what we all mask it. And then it gave me burnout. So let me make this real. Example 1. You rest after a social event, but you're so exhausted. You go to a family party, a work meeting, a birthday, a school event, whatever. You survived it. Gold star, no notes. You come home, you lie down, but your brain is still replaying every facial expression, every tone shift, every moment you maybe talked too much, every moment you maybe seemed rude, every moment that you maybe stood weird, smiled weird, breathed weird, because apparently the brain's post-social analysis department is open 24/7, staffed by unpaid interns with complete anxiety. So yes, you are laying down, but you're not recovering. You're processing. You may need social recovery that looks like no talking, no texting, no explaining, comfort audio, a woody blanket, a dark room, some of the same food or comfort foods, no decision, a transition ritual or routine, and permission to not review your entire personality like it is some game tape. So here's another example. You sleep 8 hours and you still wake up exhausted. This one is so annoying and it deserves its own villain or origin in the story. Because sleep is necessary, but sleep quality, circadian rhythm, nervous system activation, medication timing, anxiety, sensory discomfort, hormones, and sleep disorders can all affect whether sleep actually restores you. Sleep patterns are common in both autism and ADHD. Reviews and research have found that higher rates of insomnia, circadian rhythm issues, short sleep duration, and low sleep quality in neurodevelopmental conditions. So when someone says just go to bed earlier, please know that you are legally allowed to stare into the middle of the distance like you just witnessed a goose commit a tax fraud. Because for many ADHD and autistic people, sleep is not just a disciplinary issue. It could be a rhythm issue, sensory issue, nervous system issue, revenge bedtime procrastination issue. My brain finally decided to turn on at 10:47, and now I want to reorganize my entire identity issue. And sometimes you are not tired because you didn't sleep. You're tired because your sleep did not repair the actual load. Okay. Another example, you took some time alone, but you still feel overstimulated. Sometimes we think alone automatically means regulated, but not if the environment is still attacking you. Scratchy clothes, stop barking, phone alerts, open tabs, bright lights, unmade decisions, half-finished tasks, and multiple sounds. The fridge humming like it has secrets. Sensory recovery may require changing the sensory environment, not just removing the people. So that might mean dim lights, noise reduction, comfort clothes, deep pressure or no pressure, a nice set, same safe show, low visual clutter, eating something predictable, one tiny reset area, no lectures, no shame, just cues. Your body is basically asking, are we safe? And your job is to convince it with a PowerPoint that it is. So, no surprise phone calls from people who treat boundaries like optional side quests. Now let's get into tools. One of them is to ask, what kind of tired is this? Because not all tired are the same. Or you prescribe just laying down to rest. Diagnose the type of exhaustion. Ask yourself, is this a physical tired? Am I sensory tired? Am I socially tired? Emotionally tired? Cognitively tired? Demand tired? Transition tired? Am I decision tired? Am I masking tired? Am I sleep debt tired? I have been perceived too much tired? And that last one is medical. I don't make the rules. Once you name the tired, you can choose the right recovery. Physical tired may need sleep, food, hydration, stretching, gentle movement, or actual medical support. Sensory tired may need darkness, quiet, headphones. Social tired may need no contact time. And cognitive tired may need fewer decisions and external supports. Emotional tired may need crying, journal therapy, rage cleaning, or just laying on the floor like a fallen Sims character until your soul comes back. Transition tired might need a bridge ritual, and asking tired might need a time when you are not performing acceptably for anybody. The next tool is to use a decompression bridge. A lot of AuDHD exhaustion comes from transitions. Work to home, pair mode to self mode, social mode to alone mode, productive mode to rest mode back to functioning mode, which frankly kind of feels like it's an illegal mode. Transitions, in my opinion. But a decompression bridge is a short ritual that tells your nervous system that part is over and this part is beginning. It can be 5 minutes, and it can look like get your shoes off, lights down, bathroom, drink water, change clothes, noise-canceling headphones, sit in the car for one song, walk around the block with your head and sing, please say out loud, I am home and I do not have to perform now. Yes, saying out loud. Saying it out loud might feel corny or cheesy, but do it anyway. Your brain is a pattern recognition machine, so give it a pattern that does not involve collapsing into the couch and waking up 3 hours later confused, dehydrated, and emotionally bonded to a third goal. Tool number 3, build a recovery menu. Do not wait until you're exhausted to invent recovery. That's like waiting until your house is on fire to Google what is water, okay? Make a list when you're more regulated and divide it into categories. For example, sensory categories can include headphones, dim lights, soft clothes, weighted blanket, shower, quiet room, no screens, safe set, fan, brown noise. Cognitive recovery category may involve brain dump. Cancel one non-essential task. Use paper plates. Pick tomorrow's clothes. Set a timer. Make a tiny list. Ask, what is the next tiniest visible step? Social recovery may look like no reply window. A text that says, I'm on low capacity today, I'll respond when I can. Turning your phone on Do Not Disturb. Being near somebody without topic. Canceling plans without bringing courtroom defense. An emotional recovery might look like journaling weekly, naming the feeling, crying without media productivity project, voice noting yourself. Therapy skills, music that matches the mood, but music that shifts the mood. Body or physical recovery might look like protein, water, electrolytes, medication as prescribed, gentle moving, stretching, a warm bath, medical checking if exhaustion is severe, new or persistent. And because I love a script, here are some actual words. Script for when you need actual recovery time. I'm at capacity today and I'm taking quiet recovery time and I will respond later. The script for canceling plans. I need to reschedule. My energy is lower than expected and I don't want to show up halfway. A script for people who take your rest personally. I am not upset with you. I am recovering and those are two different things. I just wanted to be clear. The script for your internal guilt. Rest is not avoidance if my nervous system is overloaded. Let sit with that body for 1 second. Just sit with it. Because one of the coolest things about burnout and chronic exhaustion is that we often try to recover at the same time and on the same timeline that both of us. And what we want to fix in 1 weekend, it's 10 years of masking. Yeah, no. We want 1 nap to undo months of sensory overload. We want 1 quiet evening to repair the nervous system damage, being the easy one, the capable one, not the intense one, the dramatic one, the one who always figures it out. No, babe, that's not recovery. That's trying to pay off a mortgage with a coupon. We need to stop treating AuDHD recovery like a luxury and start treating it like access needs, because that's what it is. If your brain has been managing sensory intensity all day, recovery is an access need. And if ADHD has been dragging executive function across Scrabble all week, recovery is an access need. If your autistic brain has been tolerating unpredictability, forced transitions, social ambiguity, and fluorescent light hellscape of modern life, recovery is an access need. And if you have been masking so hard that people think you are fine, recovery is an access need. And here is the annoying part. Recovery may not always feel good at first. Sometimes we finally stop, everything catches up. The sadness, the anger, the exhaustion, the body pain, the hunger, the loneliness, the grief, the oh my God, I just been surviving, not living. And that doesn't mean that rest means you works. It means that your body finally found enough safety to tell the truth, which is weird timing, honestly. Like, thank you, nervous system. Could we not have scheduled this revelation between 2:15 next Thursday? But our bodies don't use Google Calendar. They use signals. And if we ignore those signals, they're going to escalate. Whispers become a nudge becomes shutdown, and shutdown becomes burnout. The goal is to recover more accurately, not to rest harder. So ask yourself, what kind of load am I carrying? What input can I reduce? What demand can I lower? What expectation can I release? What supports can I add? What might make my body feel safer? And what would help my brain just stop scanning? And I really want you to hear this. You do not have to earn recovery by reaching collapse. You do not have to wait until you are crying in the shower. You do not have to justify being tired with a productivity receipt. And you do not have to prove your exhaustion by becoming visibly unwell. High functioning is often just silent suffering with good branding. And some of us are too good at looking okay. And that's the trap. People do not see the cost, so they underestimate the need. And then we underestimate it too. We tell ourselves it wasn't that bad, but your body knows. Your body remembers every sound that you swallowed, every burnout you ignored, every transition you forced, every conversation you decoded, and every task started with no dopamine. So if you're still exhausted after resting, I want you to consider this. Maybe you did rest, but maybe you did not recover from the right thing. Maybe your body was still bracing. Maybe your brain was still working. Maybe your environment was still too loud. And maybe the standards were still too high. Maybe your guilt was still turned down. Maybe you were physically ill, but emotionally on trial. Maybe lying down wasn't enough because the problem was never just standing up. And here's the gut punch. You're not tired because you're weak. You're tired because you've been adapting without enough support. You are tired because you learned how to survive in rooms that were never built with your nervous system in mind. You're tired because your brain has been doing invisible labor and then been gaslit by a culture that only counts labor when it looks like productivity. So you're tired because masking is work, sensory filtering is work, task initiation, transitions, emotional regulation, it's all work. Pretending that you're not overwhelmed is work. Existing in a world that keeps asking you to be less affected by everything is work. So no, recovery is not just lying down. Recovery is removing the knife and not just taking a nap while you're still bleeding. Recovery is building a life where your body does not have to scream to be believed. I'm going to say that part again because I believe that it's important. Recovery is building a life where your body does not have to scream to be believed. Recovery is learning the difference between I'm lazy and I'm overloaded. Recovery is letting yourself need what you need without cross-examining your humanity like a hostile witness. And if all you can do today is one tiny thing that makes your nervous system feel safer, dim the lights, drink water, put on soft clothes, cancel the thing, eat safe food, close the tasks, let the recovery be real. Not aesthetic, not optimized, not impressive, but real. Because you're not a machine that failed to recharge. You're a human body asking for conditions where healing is actually possible. And that, my love, is not laziness. It is wisdom finally getting loud enough to hear it. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Authentically ADHD. Take what helps, leave what doesn't, drink some water, and lower the demand. And please remember, if your nervous system is running Windows 98 with 46 tabs open, maybe don't yell at it for needing a restart. I love you, and be kind to your brain. And for the love of all things holy, stop calling collapse rest. If you feel like this episode might help somebody else, please don't be afraid to share it with a friend, maybe even on your social media. And don't forget to tag me at Authentically ADHD _ podcast so I can give you a huge virtual hug. Until next time, stay authentic and we'll talk soon.